Okay, Hebrews, Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? We taking Prophet Isaiah history away from the demigod worshipers. You know what I'm saying? The the people that believe in demigod worship took Prophet Isaiah's history, just a little part of it, and use it to support a demigod worship, a miraculous birth, not understanding the history of the time that the verses was written in Prophet Isaiah. They don't have no clue what was going on during that time. They don't have no idea. You know what I'm saying? And then they just took this word Emmanuel, and a virgin shall be born, a virgin shall have a baby, and not understanding none of the Israelite history, and then just turned that into demigod worship. And then the Israelites just accept that stuff. You know, we accept everything from our enemies, and then we try to defend our enemies' false history. You know, and man, they can't stand no more. It's over with, you know. So we taking Prophet Isaiah history away from the demigod worshippers. No Jesus come out of the Prophet Isaiah history. No demigod worship come out of the Prophet Isaiah's history, and that's our enemies' foolery and taking you Israelites down with them. You know, and whoever believe in the demigod worship, you know, you ain't worshiping Almighty Yah, and that you worshiping an entity that the Israelites' enemies created when covenant was broken. You know, it's a whole lot going on. You know, our history fell into the hands of some Babylonian scribes. I got plenty of videos explaining this. So all kind of false history sprung up because of that. But we're going to go back to the time dealing with King Ahaz. King Ahaz and what was going on during that time. You see, the Assyrians, the tribe of Israel, tried to rob Judah using Syria. And then how Ahaz went and hired the Assyrians to, you know, get us up off them. You know, we was robbing each other backwards and forth, and that's what the Israelite history, you know what I'm saying, basically about how evil and wicked we was under the covenant. And then, you know, you got Hebrews that don't understand Israelite history and look at Israelite history through Jewish myths, and then they, you know, and then accepted the demigod worship that our enemies created, you know, since the covenant was broken. But a lot of Israelites don't know that we Israelites were robbing each other, and that the demigod worship and the demigod belief basically come out of the Israelites' error towards each other, us robbing and killing each other, and you know their history being recorded, so it's kind of negative already. And then out of that negativity, our enemies took and made, you know, a religion out, out of us robbing each other, out of us Israelites robbing each other. Our enemies took our history, our recorded history of us robbing each other, and made a demigod worship out of it to further our hurt, and you know, the to further the confusion on the Israelite history. You know, a lot of Israelites, man, they swept down that how they view the Tanakh is correct, and they don't have no timeline. They don't understand the Assyrian Empire. They don't understand the people that the Israelites dealt with and who we, you know, associated with. You know what I'm saying? It's like most Israelites ain't gonna know that the Northern Kingdom had a pact with the Assyrians. You know, everybody was cutthroats back then, and it was cutthroats. Everybody was trying to get on during the Neo, the Assyrian Empire times. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was trying to get on, during them times after Solomon's death, and Jeroboam come out of Egypt with the Egyptian religion and put it on the northern kingdom, and then had an association with the Egyptians, trading with the Assyrians and the Egyptians, the tribe of Ephraim. And it was a whole bunch going on, and then everybody was having money and stuff, and then we just start robbing each other. And then, that's gonna lead to that demigod worship history that our enemies took from our era, our disobedience towards the covenant, and then made a false worship and religion out of that. They take the Israelite history and make religions out of it. And that's all the religions that's been created after the covenant was broken. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All right, look, this showed that the tribe of Ephraim had an association with the Assyrians and the Egyptians, and this is gonna be in 753 BC. Man, this is like, man, 14 years, man, before the prophet Isaiah come on, that you have to really understand the prophet Hosea history in order to understand what was going on with Ahaz and so forth. All right, Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind. This is Hosea 12. Ephraim feedeth on wind and followeth after the east wind. He daily increases lies and desolation, and they do make a covenant and with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. So right there, the tribe of Ephraim is kicking it with the Assyrians. That's basically the northern kingdom, because Ephraim was the leader of the northern kingdom. And then how that they would, kick it with the Assyrians and then take all into Egypt. So, this breaking covenant right here, kicking it with the Assyrians and so forth, and moving about instead of trying to be the priestly nation that we were supposed to be. All right, man, them Israelites would start robbing. You know what I'm saying? We would start robbing each other after the death of Solomon, and then after the death of Jeroboam, we would start robbing each other, and that's what the king's history, what I'm saying, is about, man. It tell you how, we robbed each other, man, and how evil and wicked we was. And then this, what I'm gonna bring you Israelites to the time of Ahaz. To the time of Ahaz is gonna be the when prophet Isaiah was dealing with Ahaz and the troubles that he was going through. In that history, they took and made a demigod worship off of it, because probably 700, almost 800 years later, during the New Testament era, they would come with a demigod worship and then try to use the prophet Isaiah history to prove the demigod worship, not understanding what went on during them times. But we see, Ahaz, all right, from 32, look, he was a bad king too. 732 to 716 B. 16 years, he was bad, and then he served during the time that prophet Isaiah and Micah was around. So you got to kind of read Micah history too, in order to understand. And then, prophet Hosea was around just before, you know what I'm saying, they prophet Isaiah come on in 739 BC, and how prophet Hosea was, around before. and he was dealing with the kings that was dealing with Ahaz, and then he go all the way back to the time that prophet Isaiah was giving this message dealing with the same kings and so forth. So you got to understand Hosea history and Isaiah history in order to get the understanding of what was taking place, and we was robbing each other. And I'm gonna read some of Ahaz's history, but I'm gonna go to the time, man, when we was robbing each other, and that's all we was doing, robbing each other. And then this was, man, and I'm saying, around Joash time, and then this is gonna be, let me see, Joash time is gonna be, man, around about, man, this is gonna be, he was around 835 to 796 BC, around about 40 years, and he was a good king. And prophet Joel was doing his time, and then you get Amaziah. You know what I'm saying? I believe that's his son, and his son is from seven men. His son is from 796 to 767, 29 years, and he was a good king. And then you get Uzziah. Prophet Isaiah come at the end of Uzziah's reign, around about 739 BC is when prophet Isaiah message kick in, and then prophet Hosea was around during that time too. You know what I'm saying? Amos was before, and Jonah for the tribes of Israel. And then we're gonna see how all this correlate together in defeating the demigod worshippers who try to take prophet Isaiah history and turn it into demigod worship. So we're gonna go to when Joahaz was on the throne, and we're gonna see, set up a little foundation in history of what was going on during that time in order to get the understanding of what was taking place, during prophet Isaiah time, in the message that he gave and what he said. All right. In the second year of Joash, son of Jehoash, king of Israel, reigned Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother name was Jehoiadan of Jerusalem. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, yet not like David his father. He did according to all the things as Joash his father did. Howbeit the high places were not taken away, as yet the people did sacrifice and burnt incense on the high places, went to the parties and all that. The Amorites had the high places in the land, and we was caught up real bad too. You know what I'm saying? And it come to pass, as soon as the kingdom was confirmed in his hand, that he slew his servants which had slain the king his father, but the children of the murderers he slew not, according unto that which it was written in the book of the laws of Moses, wherein the Elohim commanded, saying, the father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the father, but every man shall be put to death for his own sin. So that right there show you that Jesus couldn't come die for the Israelite sin. Just right off the top, we ain't even got to Isaiah. This show you off the flop that nobody can come die for your sins but you. You pay for your sins. That's like we broke the covenant and sinned as a whole during the Babylonian Empire. We suffering as a whole. You see what I'm saying? But you're responsible for your own sins, and you're going to be put to death for your own sins, and how Jesus cannot die for no Israelite sins, as stated. That'll be going against the Father. How the Son gonna go against the Father? How the Son gonna change the Father's history? He can't. All right. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither children be put to death for the father, but every man shall be put to death for his own sin. he slew of Edom in the valley of Salt 10,000, and took Selah by war, and called the name of it Joke the Hill unto this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, Come and let us look one another in the face. And Jehoash, the king of Israel, sent to Amaziah, king of Judah, saying, The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give thy daughter to my son to wife. And there passed by a wild beast that was in Lebanon, and trod down the thistle. Thou hast indeed smitten Edom, and then heart has lifted thee up. Glory of this, and tarry at home. For why shouldest thou meddle to thy hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? And that's the kings of Israel saying, Hey man, you done got out on the you done got out on the Edomites, you done whooped them, you know what I'm saying? Be happy, man, and content. Because if you come mess with me, man, it's going, it ain't gonna turn out good for you. So we see the king of Judah kind of like, even though the kings of Israel own Egyptian religion since Jeroboam days, since 931 BC, that, man, they wasn't still nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't nothing to play with. And you see the tribe of Judah playing with the northern kingdom. Thou hast indeed smitten Edom, and then heart lifted up thee up, the glory of this, and tarry at home. For why shouldest thou meddle to thy hurt, that thou shouldest fall, even thou and Judah with thee? But Amaziah would not hear. Therefore Jehoash king of Israel went up, and he and Amaziah king of Judah looked one another in the face at Bethshemesh, which belongeth to Judah. Now this wrong, man, us Israelites fighting against each other. But if you look at the king's history, man, after the death of Solomon and Jeroboam, man, everybody was fighting for the throne in the tribes of Israel. Judah, kind of fell up under the King David land, and kind of, was trying to do the covenant, but everybody else, man, was fighting and robbing and killing each other and stuff. All right. But Amaziah would not hear. Therefore Jehoash king of Israel went up, and he and Amaziah king of Judah looked one another in the face at Bethshemesh, which belongeth to Judah. And Judah was put to the worst before Israel, and they fled every man to his tent. And Jehoash king of Israel took Amaziah king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, the son of Uzziah, at Bethshemesh, and come to Jerusalem, and break down all the wall of Jerusalem, from the gate of Ephraim unto the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and silver and all the vessels that was found in the Elohim house, in the treasures of the king's house, and hostages, and returned to Samaria. So, robbed them folks, and took them on, back to the northern kingdom. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, so, we was robbing each other. And Jehoash slept with his father, and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. And Jeroboam his son reigned in his stead. See, so man, we was robbing and killing each other. You know what I'm saying? We was robbing and terrorizing each other. You know what I'm saying? It's what we was doing. All right. So all these different kings, you know what I'm saying? Amaziah come on, and Jehoash, the king of Syria, began to reign in Samaria, and reigned 41 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Elohim, and departed not from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. We were sinning off that Egyptian religion since, Solomon's death. He restored the coast of Israel from the entering of Hamath to the sea of the plain, according to the word of the Elohim Yah Israel, which he spake by the hand of his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet, which was at the Gulf. That's the book of Jonah. And Jonah went to Assyria too, so we was hanging with the Syrians. And we was robbing and stealing like they was doing too. For the Elohim saw the affliction of Israel, that it was very bitter, for there was not
any shut up, nor any left, nor any helper for Israel. And Elohim said not that he would not. And the Elohim said that he would not blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, but he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, the son of Jehoash. All right, so we're going to start getting to the prophet Ezekiel, prophet Isaiah history in a little bit, but you see how we was robbing and, and the little stuff that we was doing, and then that's like when it got down to King Ahaz time, because King Ahaz ain't too far from, Amaziah, then Uzziah. Look, man, you got Amaziah, then Uzziah. Now, at the end of him is when prophet Isaiah come on, in 739 BC. But we're going to look and see what was going on, man, before then in prophet Hosea history, because all this, going to come together. All right, so then let's go to prophet Hosea history. And let's see, because he was told to take a prostitute. He was told to take a prostitute and have some children, whereas the prophet Isaiah going to be told to take a clean wife, a clean woman, man, and have a son. And then, his name would be Yah is with us, that they translate as into Emmanuel, and then say that there's Jesus and so forth. But you see here, look, the word of the Elohim that came unto Hoshea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah. So he's just before prophet Isaiah come on, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. See, then this is the era that we dealing with right here. This is the era that we dealing with, and you see, Hosea is dealing with the same kings that prophet Isaiah would be dealing with. Let's go look at that. Let's go look at that, because all this going to take away the demigod worship. This is going to take away the demigod worship, man. You got to know the history, man. You just can't take no verse and say, oh, this is a virgin having a baby, and all that old stuff, and then the baby coming to save us, and all that old madness that our enemies promote. Look, that's prophet Isaiah, 739 to 701 BC. So look, the visions of Isaiah the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. You know what I'm saying? So he's seeing the same thing that prophet Hosea is seeing and dealing with, but prophet Hosea is dealing with it first. Now you got to understand prophet Hosea history in order to understand, man, Isaiah and what went on during that time, as I'm finna read right here what he was told to do. And then we're gonna go to the Isaiah. Right. The word of the Elohim that came unto Hosea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and King Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. The beginning of the word of the Elohim by Hosea, and the Elohim said unto Hosea, Go and take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredom, for the land hath committed great whoredom and departed from the Elohim. See, prophet Isaiah gonna be told to go into a clean wife, a clean woman, a virgin, a prophetess. He gonna go into a virgin and she gonna conceive. You see what I'm saying? But you see how prophet Hosea was told to go into a harlot. You know what I'm saying? Because the land was unclean. You know, prophet Isaiah gonna be told to go into the prophetess or the woman in Judah because they was clean. They was trying to follow Almighty Yah. So Almighty Yah was with them. That's what the name Emmanuel means. Yah is with us when they translate it. You know what I'm saying? From Hebrew into English. You know what I'm saying? That Yah is with us. You know, we can look that up. Yah is with us. Yah is with us. All right, look. All right. Where did the name Emmanuel come from? Let me see. Where did the name Emmanuel come from? Emmanuel is a name originating in the biblical Hebrew name meaning Yah with us. So Yah is going to be with the tribe of Judah and Ahaz being saved from them Assyrians. You see what I'm saying? But they done took that and then turned that into demigod worship because the people we abandon our heritage to are able to do that. You know, and then they turned it into Emmanuel in the New Testament, something entirely different. And we know that Jesus' name, that Jesus wasn't called no Emmanuel. None throughout the New Testament was he ever called Emmanuel. You see what I'm saying? But how did that means Emmanuel when in English, that's the English version. But in Hebrew, you know, in Hebrew, it means Yah with us. So y'all gonna be with Ahaz. Y'all gonna be with Ahaz as you're about to see. So they done took this demigod worship. The demigod worship from Prophet Isaiah history, man, is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So we know that, you know, Hosea was told, look, I'm gonna say, so he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Deplim, which conceived and bore him a son. So, you know, the beginning of the word of the Elohim by Hosea, and the Elohim said to Hosea, go and take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land had committed great whoredoms, departing from the Elohim. And then it makes sense because the northern kingdom had deported from the Elohim, and then they whole everything was was wrong. You know what I'm saying? They was up off the covenant. They was worshiping the Egyptian religion. So they doing whoredom. They, you know, breaking away from Almighty Yah to worship the Egyptian religion, being some whores is what the northern kingdom was. So Hosea was told to go take a wife. You know what I'm saying? Of whoredom and have some children's men of whoredoms. Look, the beginning of the word of the Elohim by Hosea, and by the Elohim said to Hosea, go and take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredoms, departing from me, because we was on the Egyptian religion. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Deplim, which conceived and bore him a son. And the Elohim said unto him, call his name Jezreel. For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. So all the monarchs and the leaders gonna be taken away, because those leaders couldn't defend the Egyptian religion on the promised land. Man, we was going downhill from here on out. It was starting to be over. You know what I'm saying? It was starting to be over. And it come to pass at that day that I took the boat of Israel in the valley of Jezreel, and she conceived again and bore a daughter. And Yah said unto him, call her name Luramah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Elohim their Yah, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horse, nor by horsemen. You know what I'm saying? And now when she had weaned 11 months, she conceived and bore a son. Then said the Elohim, call his name Loami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your Yah. Man, I'm talking about Almighty Yah, hot at the northern kingdom for being on that Egyptian religion. The Egyptian religion destroyed us. Soon as Solomon was tricked and started messing around with the Egyptians, and then he chased Jeroboam into Africa, into Egypt to be with his relatives. Now, I already showed that the tribe of Ephraim had a relationship with the Egyptians and the Assyrians. All right. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where ye will say unto them, ye are not my people, there shall it be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living Yah. Then shall the children of Israel and Judah Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So, he was told, man, Hoshea was told to go take some the women of whoredom, some unclean women, and have kids. And you see how Almighty Yah named them kids. Well, that's going to be the same with Prophet Isaiah. Happened the same way, but he was told to go take a virgin. But let's read about a little bit about Ahaz, who we was dealing with. So we see that Prophet Hoshea was around during Ahaz's time. Look, see, the word of the Elohim that came unto Hoshea the son of Beri in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam the son of Joash, king of Israel. And in the beginning of the Elohim, in the beginning of the word of the Elohim by Hosea, and the Elohim said unto Hosea, go and take unto thee a wife of whoredom and children of whoredom. So we know he ain't do prophet Isaiah like that, and how he got to go take a clean woman. You know what I'm saying? He got to go have a clean woman. But let's look at Ahaz and what was going on during his time in order for it to need to be saved. And so we see how it was a prophecy already to save Judah way before prophet Isaiah come on, and way before King Ahaz got on the throne. And we can see that came to pass when prophet Isaiah was dealing with Ahaz and the Assyrians came, and how Judah was saved. You see what I'm saying? So, man, this ain't got nothing to do with no Jesus or no demigod worship. Look, in the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim his Yah, like David his father, but he would, break bad too. But he walked in the ways of the 20 years old when he began to reign in Jerusalem, and did not that which was right in the sight of the Elohim his Yah, like David his father, but he walked in the way of the kings of Israel. See, kicking it with the robbers. Yeah, and made his sons to pass through the fire, according to the abomination of the heathen, whom the Elohim cast out before the children of Israel. So he doing abortions. He doing abortions. He getting the women pregnant, and then he aborting the babies, sending them through the fire. That's what the Amorites did. That's where abortion come from. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places. So he was kicking it in the clubs, getting high and all this stuff. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places and on the hills and on the every green tree. Then Razin, king of Assyria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, come up to Jerusalem to war. Man, he's sinning. He up off the covenant. He ain't got no protection. So the robbers coming to get him. the robbers coming to get Ahaz. All right. Then Razin, king of Assyria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, come to Jerusalem to war, and they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him. At that time, Razin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Assyria and drave them them probably some real Jews from Elath, and the Syrians come to Elath and dwell there, men been to this day. So King David probably, then lost, many descendants lost that little land up there. So Ahaz sent messengers to Talicapazer. Look, Talicapazer, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the kings of Syria and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me. See, Ahaz shouldn't have did that. Ahaz should have turned to Almighty Yah, but how he hired the Assyrians to come into the promised land. That's not a good thing. And then I explained to you Israelites, man, about the Assyrian history and how that they was robbers and how that they was fighting, men, against the Scythians and all them other folks, man. They robbed everybody and had everybody under yoke. Had everybody under yoke. And they even had us in their army. They would snatch us because about this time, the Scythians, Ashkenazi started getting deep into Syria. And, as I show in the book of Jonah, where, the folks was called beasts and put on sackcloth, and how ain't no evil gonna be in no beast hand, and how that was Ashkenazi and them hanging out in Assyria. And then how the Assyria started having problems. And then during this time is when they would snatch the fighters for the northern kingdom. We all on Egyptian religion. We all on Egyptian religion. And then the northern kingdom is protecting the Egyptian worship on the promised land. So, the Creator put it in the Syrian heart, man, to come snatch them up. Because they couldn't be protecting the Egyptian worship on the promised land. On the promised land. And that's what the northern kingdom was doing. The northern kingdom way over here. You know what I'm saying? Man, protecting the Egyptian worship. And then that couldn't stand. But you see how, you know, Ahaz, hired the Syrian, and Ahaz took the silver and the gold that was found in the house of the Elohim and in the treasures of the king's house, and sent it for a present to the king of Assyria. And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Kir, and slew Razin. And King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet Tiglath, king of Assyria, and saw in the altar that was at Damascus. And the king Ahaz sent to Urijah the priest the fashion of the altar and the pattern of it, according to all the workmanship thereof. And Urijah the priest built an altar according to all that the king Ahaz sent him from Damascus. So Urijah the priest made it against King Ahaz come from Jerusalem. And when the king was come from Damascus, the king saw the altar, and the king approached to the altar and offered thereon. And he burnt his burnt offerings and his meat offerings, and poured his drink offerings, and sprinkled the blood of his peace offerings upon the altar. And he brought also the brazen altar, which was before the Elohim, from the forefront of the house, from between the altar of the house of the Elohim, and put it on the north side of the altar. And King Ahaz commanded Urijah the priest, saying, upon the great altar burn the morning burnt offerings, in the evening meat offerings, and the king's sacrifice and meat offerings with the burnt offerings, and all the people of the land and their meat offerings and their drink offerings, and sprinkle upon it all the blood of the offering and all the blood of the sacrifice, and the brazen altar shall be for me to inquire by. This did Urijah the priest according to all that King Ahaz commanded. And King Ahaz cut off the borders of the basins, and removed the liver from off them, and took down the seed from off the brazen oxen that was under it, and put it upon a pavement of stones, and the cover of the Sabbath that they had built in the house of the kings entry without turn from the house of the Elohim for the kings of Assyria. You know what I'm saying? He gave all the stuff to the king of Assyria. Now the rest of the act of Ahaz, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And Ahaz slept with his fathers, see, and was buried in his fathers in the city of David, and Hezekiah, his son, reigned in his stead. So now let's go back and look. See, Ahaz did some low down stuff. So now let's go look and read what Hezekiah got to say dealing with Ahaz. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to look at the verses where that Ahaz was saved and so forth, as prophet Hoshea had prophesied way before prophet Isaiah, was around. So, prophet Isaiah was dealing with Ahaz, and then look, we can see prophet Isaiah. I ain't gonna read all this. It's a lot of history to read to get up to that part, but I'm gonna get up to that part. Look, the vision of Isaiah the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. So he was around. Look, hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Elohim had spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doeth not know. My people doeth not consider. Ah, a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Elohim. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backwards. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart is faint. From the sole of thy foot even unto thy head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds, bruises, and petrifying sores that have not been closed, nor bound up, nor mollified with ointment. You know what I'm saying? Man, we been messed up, and we was messed up because we was mostly robbing each other. So now, let's kind of go over to this part where it's dealing with King Ahaz. King Ahaz. And, Israel was already messed up. Now, you got a king on the tribe of Judah that's messed up. But we know that didn't last long because he on the ring 16 years, and how Hezekiah come back, got everybody back on the land after his father Ahaz messed up. After his father Ahaz messed up, and how Hezekiah come got everybody back in shape, and then Manasseh messed up, and then Amon, he messed up, and then the prophecy came to get rid of the Egyptian religion, our last chance under King Josiah, and then how David promised to have rulers on the throne forever was defeated by the rest of his descendants after the Egyptians killed King Josiah and put us back on the Egyptian religion, and how we was through. It was over with. But how none of this history got nothing to do with a demigod or no God son worship. And then that's like when prophet Isaiah was giving this message to Ahaz or dealing, you see, because Judah was messed up. The northern tribe was already through and washed up, and now Judah washed up. So Almighty Yah gave in a pronunciation of our end, and prophet Isaiah was telling us that it was over during this time, because here's Judah messed up and now Israel messed up. So he made a prophecy of our end. But this got to do with Ahaz history also. Look, in the 6th year that Uzziah died, Uzziah did now. I saw also the Elohim sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims, which each one had 6 wings, and twine he covered his face, and with twine he covered his feet, and with twine he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Elohim of hosts. The whole earth is filled of his glory. And the posts of the door moved. And the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Elohim of hosts. Now remember, this is just before the Assyrian captivity too, when those 3 tribes was taken by Assyria, because those the northern kingdom army was defending the Egyptian religion. So we was all messed up. Look, then flew one of the Sephims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the thorn from off the altar, and he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and then iniquity is taken away, and then sin purged. Alright. Also, I heard the voice of the Elohim saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, Here I am, send me. And he said, Go and tell this people, Hear ye indeed, but understand not. See ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed. We always did that. Whenever, we fell in a bad shape and we call for Almighty Yah, we'll say, Hey, help us. He'll help us. And then we'll go back to the sin, and after he help us, and he'll help us again, and we'll go back to the sin and forsaking the covenant after that. And we kept doing that all over and over and over. Man, to where he said, Hey, it's over with. That can't be done no more. All right. Then said I, Elohim, how long? And he answered, Until the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without men, and the land be utterly desolate. And the Elohim, you know what I'm saying? And that happened during the Babylonian wars. And the Elohim have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth. That's the exiles coming back from the Babylonian captivity. And it shall return and shall be eaten as a tear tree. They was destroyed, by Greek times. And as a oak whose substance is in them when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. And then it came to pass. And the holy seed got knocked off during the Greek times, the little exiles to come back. All right, so now we finna get to Ahaz. Prophet Isaiah already explained how, we was all messed up, and now the tribe of Judah is doing the Amorite, Canaanite religions and stuff that Ahaz was doing. And then we remember how before then, because the northern kingdom and everybody was seeing that the Creator told Prophet Hoshea to go take a wife of whoredom and have some kids. You see what I'm saying? Now, all this stuff really gonna come down because we're robbing each other. Look, and it come to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jaham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, that Razin, the king of Assyria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up toward Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim. And his heart was moved, in the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Then said the Elohim unto Isaiah, Go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou in Shir Jeshahab, thy son. So Prophet Isaiah is going to meet Ahaz with his son Joshua, thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. And say unto him, Take heed and be quiet, fear not, neither be faint hearted, for the 2 tails of these smoking brands, for the furious anger of Razin with Syria and of the sons of Ramallah, because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Ramallah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel. Now this ain't got nothing to do with no Jesus or no demigod worship. None of the history of Isaiah and how they done took it out of contents. We was robbing each other. We was robbing each other, and we was kicking it with other folks that was robbing each other. You know what I'm saying? That was robbing us, and we was helping them. All right. This said the Elohim, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Razin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. You know, be not an army, and not able to do none of that stuff no more. And that's what happened when the Syrians turned on them. You know what I'm saying? They was already doing trade with the Syrians, but another king come on and stuff, and he take bribes. In the head of Ephraim is Samaria. In the head of Samaria is Ramallah's son. If ye would not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Moreover, the Elohim spake again unto Ahaz, saying, ask thee a sign of the Elohim thy Yah. Ask it either in the depth or in the heights above. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Elohim. And he said, hear ye, O house of David, it is a small thing for you to worry man, but will ye worry my Yah also? Therefore the Elohim himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive. Look, a virgin shall conceive. A virgin, a clean woman. A virgin that ain't never had no sex. And clean. She ain't the whore like Hoshea had to go through, because didn't none of the tribes of Israel believe, so he had to go into a hole. You know what I'm saying? And then how that prophet Isaiah gonna be able to go into a clean woman. Look. Therefore the Elohim himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means Yah is with us. And Yah was with Ahaz because he destroyed Ahaz enemies, the Assyrians, not by horse and not by bow, none of that stuff, and how the angels did it. You see what I'm saying? So Almighty Yah was with Ahaz personally, because he turned, his heart back to Almighty Yah. You know what I'm saying? All right. Therefore the Elohim himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. So we know that name Emmanuel means, Emmanuel is a name originated in the biblical Hebrew name meaning Yah with us. So it ain't got nothing to do with no God's son. Look, all right. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings. Now, both her kings, and then that happened a few years later. The Elohim shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. And he was calling the Assyrians right then, meant to get the northern kingdom army, because they robbing. They robbing. It's the northern kingdom's army that's causing Judah's the problems. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Elohim shall hiss for the fly that is in the uttermost part of the rivers of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria, and they shall come and shall rest all of them in the desolate valleys, and in the holes, and in the rocks, and upon all thorns, and upon all bushes. And in that same day shall the Elohim shave with a razor that is hard by name beyond the river, the king of Assyria, the head and the hair and the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. And it shall come to pass, and Almighty Yah got rid of the Assyrians too for violating the promised land. I mean, let's go look and see, man, about the Assyrians coming into the land. And then we know that 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 Isaiah was told to go take, you know what I'm saying, man, to get a woman that was clean, man, and have a baby. You know what I'm saying? But if you go to let's see, that's Isaiah 37:6. Let's see what Isaiah 37:6 say. Isaiah 37:6. Alright, so we taking the demigod worship away from them folks be using Prophet Isaiah history to try to support a demigod. And it ain't got nothing to do with no demigod worship. As I just been proven, it ain't got nothing to do with no demigod worship. Alright, so we go to alright. Alright. Then the angel of the Elohim went forth and smote the camp of the Syrians in 103 score, fourscore, and 500, and they arose early in the morning, and behold, they were all dead. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh. And it come to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adrenalich and Sherahaz, his son, smote him. So, this come to pass right here, dealing with, that Almighty Yah said that he would save the tribe of Judah from Israel and the Assyrian rob, and then it come to pass. You know what I'm saying? That come to pass, and this got to be dealing with the Assyrians. All right, so now let's go and let's see that Hosea has said that, and then how did that come to pass? All right, Hosea. All right, so we go to first Hosea. All right, 1:7. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah and will save them by the Elohim their Yah, and I will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horse, nor by horsemen. You know what I'm saying? So, we will saved. Just like he said, let's go to Second Chronicles. Let's go to Second Chronicles 32 and see what it say. Second Chronicles 32:21. Second Chronicles 32:21. So we see they ain't got nothing to do with no demigod worship. Alright. Second 2:31. So, the land was saved, man, from the Assyrians, just like Almighty Yah had said. The land was saved from the Assyrians. And then, our problems come from basically robbing each other. So, that ain't got nothing to do with no demigod worship. Ain't no demigod worship, got nothing to do with this. And then how that, everything was, told ahead of time. As I showed that the prophets prophesied everything ahead of time, and how ain't none of this got to do with no Jesus worship or no God's son. And then that's like another thing, Hebrews. I be running across Hebrews that be saying that our name is Gerber Herbis Yisraelis or something. And then Hebrews, how about the covenant was broken and how we spoke Hebrew was lost because we were destroyed, and that old Hebrew language that we spoke was up under the old covenant. And once we broke the old covenant and ran into Africa, that everything was lost. And that our Israelite name that we have today is correct, because our enemies didn't give us the title Hebrew Israelite. We picked that up on our own, and all of us did it. You know what I'm saying? So that's got to be by the grace of Almighty Yah. And how did those Jews
been calling themselves Hebrew Israelites, so we know that that's the correct name and so forth in English, and how that we ain't got to worry about speaking all this Hebrew and all this stuff, because we ain't gonna never be able to speak the language that we once spoke, and that how English that we speak now is the language that we probably gonna forever speak, and that any Hebrews trying to use Hebrew to say this or that, and that you basically using the Jews' interpretation, because they was left with our heritage, and man, we didn't pronounce everything the same. It's like it's some words in Hebrew that the Jews didn't even know the meaning for, or have a meaning for, and just left it alone. So we can't get stuck on our name's supposed to be spelled this way. Y'all supposed to be this way. We got to go by the majority of what our people call the creator. Even the demigod worshippers call Yah by Yah. So we doing the right thing, and how we ain't got to worry about, our name is spelled this way, and it's this way, and it was this way, and all of those stuff. We Hebrew Israelites, and that's that on that. And that ain't gonna never change. That ain't gonna never change. All right, Hebrews, you see how prophet Isaiah history don't have anything to do with demigod worship, and how that it had to do with King Ahaz and the troubles that he was going through with the children Israel, the northern kingdom, who was on Egyptian religion and who was robbing with the Assyrians and so forth. So, that ain't got nothing to do with no demigod worship, and how our enemies took that one verse and made a demigod worship, and then how did they try to use uh, uh, Emmanuel, or some of those prophecies that speak of a Messiah was in relations to King Josiah's coming on, because King Josiah was a prophecy king, and then it's gonna be all kind of prophecies, waiting on him to come. If it was said, uh, if it was said in 931 BC that all the prophets gonna be looking for King Josiah and gonna be saying prophecies about when he gonna come about, and he came about. Maybe about 300 something years later and so forth. So all the prophecies in between them being made originally and them coming to pass gonna be, man, about King Josiah, and how they took those prophecies and made demigod worship out of it. And behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim, and said, Altar, altar, this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. And upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. So, all the prophecies are looking for a Messiah and so forth, gonna basically be dealing with King Josiah. But how did the enemies, after we abandoned heritage, took those prophecies for King Josiah and then turned it into demigod worship and so forth? And then that's what happened. And then how did the people who we abandoned our heritage to, worship demigods? The people from Sepharvaim, I mean the people from Super, they worship demigods and so forth. These people worship demigods and God's sons. If you look at the history, man, of Babylon, of Murdoch, Nabu, Enki, and Norajel, and all them gonna be God's sons and so forth. So, we abandoned our heritage to these peoples during the Babylonian Wars. And then they had been in our heritage, man, basically since we left Egypt and was coming into the promised land, how they tricked us. So all our being off course with the covenant gonna come into mingling and dealing
with those folks and how did they worship false gods and God's sons and so forth, and how they create God's sons, where our heritage fell to them during the Babylonian wars. And man, they start making God's sons, and then that's gonna be your New Testament history, and Israelites accept that as, real Israelite history, not knowing what happened, and how we got in the shape that we got in to allow people to get our heritage, after we ran off. I got plenty of videos explaining this. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We taking Prophet Isaiah history, man, away from the demigod worshipers, and no Jesus come out of the Prophet Isaiah history. No Jesus, no demigod worship come out of Prophet Isaiah history, as you can see, and how that they just took one verse and try to make a demigod worship, praying that you don't read the whole chapter and understand the whole history, and how the demigod worship is based upon false beliefs. Shalom, Hebrews. I pray that everybody is doing well. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood.